Do we get credits? Yes. Yes. Oh boy. All right, cool. First things first, the bottom center of the screen says that we have beaten 114 games this year and 436 since we started doing this in 2020. Those numbers are now obsolete. They've been outdated. We've now beaten 115 games in 2023 and 437 since we started doing this in 2020. Okay, so let's start here. I've played Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, and 4 now, and this one is easily my favorite for a couple of reasons. Number one, the story is way better, just way better than 1, 2, or 3. I'm not saying the stories in those games were bad. They were fine. They were serviceable, but they were really more of a vehicle for the RPG elements. To me, I mean, they were okay. You know, there were probably some people that are really into those stories or whatever. And that's fine. I never really got into them. I got into this one. I thought the characters were by far the most compelling. I thought Cecil was probably the only one that wasn't that compelling, because Cecil's kind of a just a kind of a basic protagonist. But like, Rosa is a great character. I think Raidi is my favorite character. Raidi is awesome. Edge is cool. I liked Yang. I liked Sid. I liked Kane. I liked Golbez. I liked Tella. Fusoya. There's just so many cool characters in this game, and the way that their stories intertwine, and your party's always changing because of things in the story that are organic and make sense. It's not like it's just doing it on a whim just for fun. Like it's happening organically, and it's changing your party around for whatever reasons. I thought that was done masterfully. I thought that was excellent. This is also the second reason that I think this is my favorite so far, is it's way harder. It's way more of a challenge, which at times was frustrating, but overall I enjoyed the game more for that. You know, when you're dealing with an RPG element, when you're RPG game where you're dealing with a lot of different numbers and whatever, those numbers have a lot more weight if they really matter. You know, like if I'm paying attention to how much damage I'm doing with whatever weapon, I'm paying a lot closer attention if the game is harder, you know, and so I'm more engaged. So yeah, just the fact that it was more difficult just got me plugged in a lot harder. And it wasn't too hard. I did have to do a lot of level grinding at the end, but that was my fault for not doing it as when I should have. And I have learned and I said this during the game, I've learned a very valuable lesson about how to play Final Fantasy games going forward, and really any JRPG. I really need to be more thorough with them. If I'm going to take the time to play, these are long games, they're involved games, they're not the kinds of games that I play that often, but there is a special place in my heart that it's very important to me that a small number of those JRPGs get played, and Final Fantasy is the biggest franchise of those by far. I've got Suikoden on the list. I've got a couple others, but it's mostly Final Fantasy. And now I understand that if I hurry through and I turn encounters off and I only fight the bosses and I just blaze through and don't do any of the optional stuff, that means that's 10 hours on the back end minimum that I'm going to have to grind out levels because I didn't play it when I should, play the battles when I should have. So that is totally on me. That is not the game's fault. That is totally my fault. And it did affect how I enjoyed this game, because I would have enjoyed it more if I had gone to, let's say, the Land of the Summit and gotten Bahamut and all that stuff. If I had done that when I was actually able to, instead of right at the end, leaving the moon to do it, it would have been more fun. You know, if I tried to figure it out organically instead of just looking up a walkthrough and being like, okay, what's all the things that I need to do now that I'm at the end of the game and I'm under leveled? Let me just look up all the things I need to do. I wish I had that back. I wish I had that decision back, because I ended up spending almost as much time anyway doing it this way. It was just sitting there walking back and forth in the last dungeon until I got up to the high enough level that I was comfortable. So when I play Final Fantasy V, I'm going to remember that, and it's one of those. This is one of the very few games that if I am going to play them, if I'm going to play them, I should play them right. I really should play them right. You know, I'm not going to start doing every side mission in every game from now on, because you really don't have to do that. In Starfield, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do any side missions. You kind of have to do these side missions in these games. Or it's either that or just fight random battles for hours and hours. I'll take the side missions. I'd rather do the side missions, right? So I learned a lesson about how to play classic JRPGs a little differently. And so when I play the next Final Fantasy, which I believe is 5, I think Mystic Quest doesn't. It might be Mystic Quest. Mystic Quest, I think, comes out after 5. Anyway, whatever the next one is, I think it's 5. I'm not gonna play it until I have a lot of time, and I'm gonna take my time with it. As far as complaints go, I think there are a couple of things about a couple of the bosses that it's unreasonable to expect anyone to figure out without a walkthrough or a guide, which is probably not uncommon for games like these. And that always rubs me the wrong way. It's like, okay, so what? You want me to use a walkthrough? You want me to buy the Nintendo Power or whatever? I mean, that's what the answer is. You want me to buy the Nintendo Power magazine, right? So, like, there were some things like that with the final boss, and at least one of the other bosses, where it was like, if I hadn't looked up what the deal is with that boss, I don't know, I would have given up, probably. Because there's some idiosyncrasy with it that makes it much more reasonable if you just understand this one totally counterintuitive thing about it. But that's more of a critique on the time and the genre, more than the game itself. The only reason this game isn't going to rank in the top 100 is it's not going to, is it? No, it won't rank in the top 100. It'll probably be in the top 200 though. The only reason it's not going to rank higher is just because there is just a ceiling to how much I'm capable of enjoying turn-based RPGs. I'm just never gonna, the best turn-based RPG there is, I'm just not gonna enjoy as much as an awesome survival horror game, or an awesome loot shooter, or an awesome Souls-like, or an awesome roguelike, those genres that are my favorite. So, you know, and it's worth noting, yes, I've played Final Fantasy 1 through 4, but I've also played all of the 7 adjacent games and Tactics. And I don't like this game as much as Tactics, and I don't like this game as much as 7, or the 7 remake, or I might like it more than Crisis Core. I'd have to look at that. But so when I say my favorite Final Fantasy so far, I mean from 1, 2, 3, 4. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad. This is one of those games that I've had friends telling me I should play for 30 years about. So I'm glad I finally got around to playing it, and that you know, now I have something to talk about with those people. So all right, that's it. We did it. Is there? Yes. Let's skip the scene. Sure. I always save when it asks me, "Do you want to save at the end?" I always do. I don't know why. Hey, look at it. We got a little star. Okay. Defeated Zeromus and restored peace to the world. Alright, last order of business. Final Fantasy IV. It has been a treat. But we are now going to delete you from our console and never play you again. Bye! We love you! What a great time you were.